Hey there you guys, welcome back. I thought I would do a video that's a little bit different than I normally do. I've been seeing other YouTubers do kind of top 10 videos of their favorite plants, so I thought I'd try it out. I thought I'd do that. I've got enough plants, I might as well choose a couple, and it was actually quite hard. I have a bunch of plants and I like most of them. Some of them I absolutely love, which these are the ones that I think about through the day. But I also have some that I really don't like and I wonder why I still have them. So maybe I'll do a video on that as well. But anyway, I thought I would bring you along, show you the top 10. There's no particular order. They all have a place in my heart right now. That is always subject to change. Things change with me by the season, it seems. So anyway, without further ado, let's just get to it and check these things out. If you have any of these, let me know. Also, if something that you really like that's not in this video, share it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're growing and what you find to be, I don't know, your favorite. Oh, I just broke one. Oh. Okay, so first on the list, well, not necessarily first, I really enjoy this family of plants. This is a Stapelia. I'm not sure what this one is. It might be a grandiflora. It came to me from a friend. They had it as a cutting. Kelly, if you're watching, this was your plant that you gave me, and it is beautiful. I love the way that it trails along and kind of just cascades over the pot. It's quite beautiful. I love the colors. I love that that gray-green that it has. And I love that there's just that little bit of fuzziness to the plant, a little bit of texture. Not that I go around feeling the plant very often, but I love that it's there. So it's just such a cool plant. So this one here requires, I don't know, a little care. It likes to be a little bit more moist than dry. In the summertime I water it like any other plant when it's actively growing. In the wintertime it dries out completely, and then I water it well, so it likes to be treated like any other succulent, I guess. But I do find that it doesn't want to be completely dry like some. They will shrivel up pretty easily, and but they also get root rot really easily. So just pay attention to it, let it dry slightly, and then let it do its thing. So that is a Stapelia. I'm not 100% sure, like I said, the variety, but it's quite beautiful. Put this off to the side. The next one on the list is one that whenever I go to the couch to sit down, I have to go and check out. This is the Hoya Matilda, and I think that this one is so beautiful. It's a mini Hoya. The leaves are quite small. I was told that I should try the Hoya Bella, and I will when I find it at a reasonable price. Yeah, this one, I love the glossy leaves. It reminds me of like a Hoya illustris or a Hoya carnosa, but just tiny. So I really enjoy this. This one here has a little bit of a splash on it. You've seen, I believe I had a repotting video on this one. Super cute. It's got all kinds of new growth. It seems to be growing really quickly. For the size of it, it's filled out the pot really fast. So this one, again, I let dry out and then water it well. I think I probably water it at least once every 2 weeks, but sometimes once a week. Depends on what it's like. It's in a east-facing window. It gets morning sun, and yeah, it's a happy little guy. So I really enjoy this one. I might take a few cuttings of this this season and try to fill in the pot. I find with Hoyas, they travel all over the place. And you think that you have multiple plants, but it's just one long vine that's maybe 10 feet long. I would like it to be a little bit more full, because if a piece of it dies, you don't want the whole plant to die. You know what I mean? So I'll take a few cuttings of this and try to expand my collection of Hoya, make a nice full pot. And I think I'm going to make a little trellis for it, just small, because it's just a small little dainty plant. So there's that one. As you'll probably notice, a lot of these are low care plants because I am a lazy waterer. So next one on here, this is the Xerocycleus Dangii silver dollar vine. Silver dollar vine. I got this last spring, I think. I can't remember. I did grow it last summer outside. The leaves are kind of a little bit lighter than I thought they were. they're really close to the light, like they're in the light. So I think that that's a little bit too much light for them. The lower leaves are a nicer green, so maybe I'll pull that away from the light just a little bit. It hasn't really put on too much growth since last season. I think it did when I first brought it in the fall, yeah, I was going to take cuttings of it when I got it. I took a poll, should I take cuttings or should I let it grow? I was going to take some cuttings and fill in this pot a little bit better, but it's such a cool plant. Some people get this mistaken for Peperomia Hope, but this one here is Xerocycleus dangii. Oh, it's so cute. I want to see how this grows. They're more arching and they're very rigid. The Peperomia Hope is very much more dangly than this one, which maybe should be more of the name, danglii. Anyway. So that one's a really cute one. This one I let dry out between waterings and yeah, water it well when I do water it. One of my all-time favorites, and it's kind of underused, I guess because it's not typically pretty, there's no flowers that really take over, is the Zizi Plant. Zizi Plants are more pricey in the garden center, and I think that that's why some people don't have them, because they look at a small plant and they don't want to pay the price, but they really are worth it. The leaves, they always look fake, they always have that beautiful glossiness to them, and they are really low care plants. They are low light tolerant, but they prefer a bright indirect location. The brighter the better when in the house. They will tolerate lower light, don't get me wrong, but they actually flourish in higher light. And they like to dry out between waterings. This one I water very irregularly, and it gets very, very crispy, but it's happy as a clam. And though that one was the one that I took from cuttings 7 years ago. So those were leaf cuttings 7 years ago. I didn't even separate the babies. I kept them all as the same pot. So that is 7 years worth of growth from like 20 cuttings. I can't remember how many cuttings we took. And then a friend gave me this one. This one is the Zizi Plant Raven, and it's so pretty. I love this one. Steph, if you're watching, thank you so much for this. A fellow viewer friend, she got one and then asked me if I had one, and I said no, and she's like, can I send you one? And I said sure, but I live in Canada. So she actually procured this from somewhere here in Canada and had it shipped to me, which was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for that, and I hope to see this one grow beautifully, big and strong, and as impressive as the bigger ones one day. It's really, really cool to me how the new growth comes out a nice green, and then it goes into this darker, dark purple, almost black color. Super, super cool. I put it in this yellow pot holder just because I think the contrast is really cool. As it gets bigger, the yellow is really going to contrast the dark purple. So, right. Next one. This one, it gets forgotten all the time for me. But this one is a Manghae. It's a cross between an agave and, oh, I can't remember what the other one is. It starts with an M. Anyway, I'll post it down below. This is lavender. I should have done my research before this one. Lavender something. I'll put that down below as well. Super, super cool plant. It seems to be, if you like agaves, these are kind of perfect. These ones particular are a little bit softer. They're not as rigid, so you're not going to poke your eye out with them. They have the same look, and I think that they're smaller. Did I say that? And there's really different color patterns for these guys. So I really, really enjoy this one. It does really, really well. It doesn't stretch like other plants that I have, other succulents, when it gets lower light. I don't recommend putting it in low light, but when I bring it in for the winter time, it's kept almost completely dry all winter, and then when I put it back out in the summertime, it gets watered like a regular houseplant. So yeah, if you have it in the house, make sure to give it a really bright location, and the colors will also pop a little bit more. This one's relatively close to a grow light, but it doesn't get water. I actually forget it most of the winter, and I water it maybe maybe once a month, maybe once every month and a half, whenever I remember when I see it. So this is a super cool one. Big fan of agaves. I don't have the space for agaves, and I also don't have the climate for agaves. I'd love to grow them out in the garden, but they really don't grow. I tried one, well, I've tried them a few times, the ones that are supposed to be hardy to my zone, but they rot out. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. So I wish I was in a more tropical place where I can have those huge ones. Oh my gosh. So next one, let's do this one. This is Primulina Nan Argent. I really love the leaf pattern on this. I used to have a lot more Primulinas and Primulinas, Syningias, all kinds of just nereids, but I really can't grow. I can grow them, but I don't have the patience and the time to go and water them and keep them constantly moist. Also, they're easy plants to grow, but you really need to repot them annually. If you don't repot them annually, their soil gets compacted and their roots really struggle. So you really need to have them in a nice loose mix. So yeah, they're low care, but they're actually quite high care. If you need to mark on your calendar that you need to repot them annually, that's hard to me. For me, I don't know. So super, super cute plant. Another one here is the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. Super, super fun plant. I liked this one for a while. I was kind of excited to come home from work to see how it's grown, because it seemed like every day I'd come home and it had grown just a little bit more. So I was eager to see a new leaf unfurling or whatever. And right now it has stopped for the last couple of weeks, but I'm patient. I can wait for it. These guys require a nice loose soil mix, so you'll want to add some bark to the soil, some extra perlite, something to make it more aerated, something to make it more loose. The roots really like that space, that extra aeration, and the leaves are so pretty. I like how clean and crisp they are. So yeah, that is the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I can't wait till it fills in this pole. You guys probably saw the repotting video of this where we planted it in this pot. So yeah, that is one of my favorites. I still come home and I look at it almost every day. I get excited. It sits beside the couch and I just kind of look over the edge of the couch to see what's going on. Another one here. This one's in the orchid category. This one is a Psychopsis butterfly orchid. Butterfly? I think it's called is it butterfly? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll call it a samurai because when the flowers come out, they look like little samurais. And I have two flowers out on this one already. Here is the other flower facing me, and there's another one just starting to open over here. And I have the two new flower spikes that are almost ready to start blooming. And the plant itself is kind of interesting. This one here gets full kind of afternoon sun, but just a little bit below the window. So it's not like, I guess it would be bright indirect, but very bright. And it's close to the window. It's probably a foot away from the window. And it's happy as a clam. It dries out completely. Right now, the moss is completely crunchy. I should water it after this video, but I probably water it once a week or once every 2 weeks. And I can't believe that it's growing so well. It's really a resilient plant for me, and I'm super, super happy with it. I couldn't imagine life without it. The best thing about this one is that it has sequential blooming. So when this one's done, you don't cut off the flower spike. In a few weeks' time, there's going to be another bloom come out. And that's why when you have multiple bloom spikes, it's even more interesting because it's almost 100% of the time you have blooms. When this one stops, this one over here is going to be putting out a bloom, and occasionally you'll get a time like this where you get 3 blooms at the same time. Super, super fun to grow, and I don't know, relatively easy. I don't care for it very much. Good light, I guess. Another one that's making this list, I really enjoy this one. This one is the Calathea lancifolia, the rattlesnake plant. I really enjoy this one. I have a few Calatheas, as you know. I think this one is my favorite because of the movement of it. It really moves a lot through the day, and at night it almost stands straight up, and then through the day it relaxes itself like this. And so far it's been low care. The last time I watered it with filtered water because I was noticing some brown tips. So we'll see what happens. I don't really care whether my plants have a few yellow leaves. I'm not perfect, my plants aren't perfect. I'm okay with that, as long as they're pretty. If they're 50% brown, that's a problem. But if it's just a little bit here and there, whatever. Older leaves also yellow, there's no problem with that. So I am okay to watch this one flourish, and with all of its imperfections. It's perfect the way that it is. So as long as it stays alive, I'm going to be very happy. So yeah, I hope that this one gets bigger sooner rather than later, because I've seen them quite tall, 2 feet tall, maybe even a little bit bigger. I'm twisting up my words. And yeah, I'd like to see this one do much more than it is, but right now I have the time to wait. And last but not least, actually I have one more after this one, an honorable mention. This one I think is really cool. This is an aloe. It's a fan aloe. I can't remember the scientific name. I'll put it down below. It starts with a P, and it's super cool. The leaves are fantastic. They are that beautiful blue-green color. It actually produced some flowers. I don't know whether they're coming in very well. The flowers are bigger than I expected. I didn't even expect flowers to come from it this year. I expected it to be much bigger before it started to bloom. This is a type of tree aloe, so it will develop a nice trunk, and then it will branch out, and it will just be so cool. I'm trying to give this as much light as possible because I don't want it to stretch. I want it to look as authentic as possible. So this one goes outside in the summertime, and actually when it was outside this past summer it grew really nicely. I bought this one from Valley Succulents, I believe in BC. It was a mail order, and it was a small plant. But I think it had 2 or 3 leaves on it, so it's done really well. So really excited to have this one go back outside when the weather's nicer, and hopefully does beautifully. And if it flowers again, I'm not gonna cry over it. I want it. I love the flowers, but I want to see it develop more growth. I'm a leaf guy. I'm not so much a flower guy. Sometimes I'm a flower guy. My allergies don't like flowers. And last but not least, this is number 11. This is a super fun Alocasia. As you guys know, I love Alocasias. Anything aeroid nowadays. These guys are really interesting. This one I chose because it's super compact. It's probably okay to grow as a houseplant. Most Alocasias, I would probably say, they can be grown as a houseplant if you have a really bright location in the house. But they are really big spider mite attractors, as well as because you really keep the soil on the moist side. Many times they're fungus gnat magnets, and just magnets for pests in general, whether it's whiteflies, whether it's thrips. This year I've been having a lot of thrips. This one has had mealybugs, and I let it go dormant for a little while, and that helped me get control of the mealybugs. But I've been spraying this one fairly regularly, and I don't see any mealies on it now. So this one here is called a Lowrider, and I found that this one was so pretty outside over the summertime, and it was very compact. I think that the leaves might have gotten 12 to 16 inches long, and they have a puckered look to them, and they just stay really compact and dense. They're just super cool. I like how this pot kind of disappeared. You could see it, but it filled in completely, and it was just a perfect little patio plant. But it could also be inside if you have really bright light. So yeah, I really enjoy this one. I am very happy I purchased this. I didn't think it was going to survive when I got it. It just had one little leaf starting to come out, and it looked like it had broken. But it is doing beautifully, and I've got all kinds of little offsets. So happy to see what this one does this summer when it actually is doing well. It's just recently out of dormancy, so it's not doing too bad right now. So anyway, I'd love to see what your top 10 I'd love to see what your top 10 plants are that you have in your house, even just one or two. It's fun to see what everybody else is growing. Actually, it's kind of a bad thing to see what everybody else is growing because it makes my wish list get even longer. So maybe I'll do a wish list video, as well as maybe I'll do a video on plants that I got from my wish list, but really aren't that great of plants for me. Anyway, show me what you're growing, post photos to Instagram and tag me with all of your plants, and also post to the Plants and Things What's Growing page. I'd love to see what you're growing. And anyway, until next time you guys, happy growing.